देवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते कृपातमां वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 23, titled The Brahmana's Wives Blessed, and this is text 10 through 11. Deshaha Kalaha Prithak Dravyam Mantra Tantra Ritvijaha Agnayaha Devataha Yajamanaha Cha Kratuhu Dharmaha Cha Yat Mayaha Tam Brahma Paramam Sakshat Bhagavantam Adokshajam Manushya Drishtya Dushpragyaha Martya Atmanaha Namenire Deshakala Prithak Dravyam Mantra Tantra Dvijognayaha Devata Yajamanascha Kratur Dharmascha Yanmayaha Tam Brahma Paramam Sakshat Bhagavantam Adhokshajam Manushya Drishtya Dushpragya Martyatmano Namenire Desha Kala Prithak Dravyam Mantra Tantra Tvijognayaha Devata Yajamanascha Kratur Dharmascha Yanmayaha Tam Brahma Paramam Sakshat Bhagavantam Adhokshajam Manushya Drishtya Dushpragya Martyatmano Namenire Deshakala Prithak Dravyam Mantra Tantra Tvijognayaha Devata Yajamanascha Kratur Dharmascha Yanmayaha Tan Brahma Paramam Sakshat Bhagavantam Adhokshajam Manushya Drishtya Dushpragya Martya Matajis, anyone? Deshaha, the place. Kalaha, time. Prithak dravyam, particular items of paraphernalia. Mantra, Vedic hymns. Tantra, prescribed rituals. Ritvijaha, priests. Agnayaha, sacrificial fires. Devataha, the presiding demigods. Yajamanaha, the performer of the sacrifice. Cha, and Kratuhu, the offering. Dharmaha, the invisible power of fruitive results. Cha, and Yat, whom. Mayaha, constituting. Tam, him. Brahma Paramam, the Supreme Absolute Truth. Sakshad, directly manifest. Bhagavantam, the personality of Godhead. Adhokshajam, who is transcendental to material senses. Manushya Drishtya, seeing him as an ordinary man. Dushpragyaha, perverted in their intelligence. Martya Atmanaha, falsely identifying themselves with the material body. Na me nire, they did not properly honor. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Although the ingredients of sacrificial performance, the place, time, particular paraphernalia, mantras, rituals, priests, fires, demigods, performer, offering, and the as yet unseen beneficial results are all simply aspects of his opulences, the Brahmanas saw Lord Krishna as an ordinary human because of their perverted intelligence. They failed to recognize that he is the Supreme Absolute Truth, the directly manifest personality of Godhead, whom the material senses cannot ordinarily perceive. Thus bewildered by their false identification with the mortal body, they did not show him proper respect. Purport: the ritualistic Brahmanas could not understand why the sacrificial food should be offered to Lord Krishna, whom they considered an ordinary human being, just as a person with rose-colored glasses sees the entire world as rose-colored. A conditioned soul with mundane vision sees even God himself as mundane, and thus loses the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Prabhupada Sthapitam Mila Bhutya Sundaramakadhamaya Sapadantikamatyam Shri Gurushatam Saketam Savadutam Pariyana Sahitam Krishna Krishna Kalpatarubhishya Kripasindhu Paitaram Pavani Vaishnava Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Desha Kalaf Prithak Dravyam Mantra Tantra Dvijognayah Devata Yajamanascha Kratur Dharmaschayannmayah Tam Brahma Paramam Sakshad Bhagavantam Adhokshajam Manushya Drishtya Dushpragya Martyatmano Namenire. So, little bit of a background here in this chapter. So far it's just the beginning of the chapter, and as we are seeing here, the Brahmanas, they were doing Angirasa Yagya that was done to, they were very serious about promotion to the heavenly planets. They had a serious aim, and to fulfill that they were going according to the injunctions of the Vedas, and they were doing this yagya. And this is a standard example of Yamimam Pushpitam Vachah Pravadyanta Avipashchitaha Vedvadartha Partha Nanyadastiti Vadinaha. So they are Vedvad, they are following the Vedas, but they are supposedly following this Vedvad Rataha. And Srila Prabhupada, he writes in the purport in Bhagavad Gita that these Vedavadis, so to speak, they do not see anything beyond sense enjoyment. Like it's written in the purport over here that Krishna, who is a Doshaja, and the Brahmanas just could not perceive him. They could not understand that the request is coming directly from Krishna. Actually, all these performances and all these things, mantras, rituals, priests, demigods, it's written in the purport here, they are simply but the opulence of the Supreme Personality of God himself. And the Lord himself, it's so ironic that Lord himself was approaching them and they just ignored such things. So Prabhupada, he rightly explains that it just makes us blind, and that's the reason why Vedas have to be followed under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master. The Brahmanas were quite proud, and they had no fear. Of course, they didn't care, in the sense that it was not just Krishna who was the cowherd boys. They went to the Brahmanas, and it was not just Krishna whose name they said or whom they said is hungry. They said it's Balram and Krishna, and Balram is the same Balram whose plow is feared by Yamuna. You know. It comes in the Tashavatara Stotra, Halahati Bhiti Milita Yamunabham. So from the fear of the blow of the plow, the Yamuna had to change the course. And we also hear this story comes in the Puranas when Lord Balram, there was Bhagavatam which was being recited by Romaharshana Sutta, which is the father of Sutta Goswami, and then he was sitting And just because he was sitting on the Vyasasana, he didn't pay proper respect to Lord Balram, and he was very angry. Lord Balram was very angry, and then he had to die. Romaharshana Sutta. So such a powerful personality, he is asking for food. And of course Krishna is powerful, but Lord Balram also. We are explaining, it's especially important here that it is mentioned, and he's such a powerful personality. There are instances in the Shastras, but they had no fear. They were completely, oblivious. They don't care. And then it is also said in Bhagavad Gita, Bhogeshwarya Prasaktanam. We may wonder why it was happening so that, such when Lord himself is asking, and such powerful personalities as Lord Balram, they are asking for something. And Brahmanas, who are supposedly following the Vedas, they ignored, and it's really bizarre. It's difficult to understand how it even happened in such a way, but we read in Bhagavad Gita, Bhogeshwarya Prasaktanam Tapahrita Chetasam Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadho na vidhiyate. So, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadhu. So, due to Bhogeshwarya Prasaktanam, due to being completely bewildered, pramatta, the madness of being attached to sense gratification, they just could not be in samadhi. And samadhi, Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita that it basically refers to devotional service. He explains, in this verse he explains as devotional service, and in other verses he says samadhi is when a devotee, he does one service and then he moves on to the next service and then he moves on to the next service. So that's real samadhi. He's explaining what is samadhi. So samadhi or devotional service or basically surrender to Krishna does not happen when there is too much sense gratification available all the time. Therefore devotees have to be akinchana, or cultivate that mood. And of course this samadhi, one important point here is that Brahmanas, they wanted to be happy. They wanted to be promoted to this heavenly planets. They wanted to enjoy this superior material enjoyment. And so the idea was to be happy, but this Prabhupada is explaining that samadhi is actual real samadhi, which is devotional service. That is the real happiness. That is what gives real pleasure. There is this shloka, Ramante Yogino Nante, Satyanande Chidatmani. So that Satyananda, that real Ananda, Satyananda Chidatmani, Iti Ramapadena so, Param Brahma Pidiyate. So that's the real pleasure, the Brahma Sukh, that is available in serving the feet of the Lord. But they were trying it in a different way. And that was the reason why they completely forgot, they completely forgot to honor the requests from Lord Krishna and Lord Balram. And of course, there's another nice shloka that comes in the Shastra. So, the purport begins with this statement: the ritualistic Brahmanas could not understand why the sacrificial food should be offered to Lord Krishna. And we know that Bhagavad Gita says, Yat karoshi yad ashnasi, yat juhosi dadasi yat, and yat tapasyasi kaunteya mat kurushva tadarpanam. Tat kurushva madarpanam. So, whatever we do, whatever has to be done, this is a basic instruction. And we may think that, it's written in Bhagavad Gita, how they don't know all these things. It's, but that's the nature of sense enjoyment. That is the nature of Maya. I mean, the Maya is like that. Krishna says, Devi Esha Gun Mahima Maya Durata is very difficult to overcome. It's insurmountable, Prabhupada translates there. So it's natural that they completely forgot, or they had no idea, they had no knowledge of this surrender to Krishna. It's Rajvidya Raj Guyam. It's the most confidential knowledge also at the same time. So also in Bhagavad Gita it's said Bhokta Ramya Tapasam and Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, and then ultimately Gyatva Mam Shanti Marichyati. So real peace, the real happiness which these Brahmanas were after, is actually available by understanding the position of Krishna. But they were completely oblivious of that. They didn't know of all this. And also from Shastra, we know that there's this verse, Shriyapati, Yagyapatir, Prajapatir, and Dhyampatir, Lokapatir, Dharapatir, Patir Gatishan, Dhakavrishni Satvatan, Prasidatam me Bhagwan Satampati. So Krishna, he is the Pati, means he is the enjoyer of all the sacrifice. Shriyapati, he is the owner of all the openness. Shriyapati, Yagyapatir, owner of Yagya or the enjoyer of Yagya. Prajapati, the leader of all the Praja or all the humanity and all the living entities, not just humanity. And Dhyam means intelligence, And Lokapatir, same, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, as we read in Bhagavad Gita. And Dharapatir, Pati of the Dhara or Bhumi. And so he is, so actually it's the realization of Shukdev Goswami. He is the one who is saying this verse, and he is explaining that, he is supposed to be Pati, and he is the one who is enjoyer of all the sacrifices. But Brahmanas here, although whatever they were doing or whatever paraphernalia they had was a manifestation of Krishna's opulence, but they were just in illusion that they could not see the obvious. And of course, it is written here, if we read the purport further, it is said that they just considered Krishna as an ordinary human being. And we understand from the 4th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, it is there, Ajopi san Navya Bhutanam Ishwaropi san Prakritim Swamadhishtaya Sambhavam Atmamaya. So Krishna says Ajopi, Aja means unborn, Navya Avyatma means it is he does not deteriorate. That's one way to put it. And Bhutanam Ishwaropi san, he is the Ishwar of all the Bhutanam, all the living entities. And Prakritim Swamadhishtaya. So Prakritim means his nature, his original nature. Prakritim Swamadhishtaya. And then it says Sambhavam. Sambhavam is to come, and he comes through his own potency, Atmamaya. He comes through his own energy. But here, the Brahmanas, they didn't understand that, and they were thinking of Krishna as an ordinary person. So Prabhupada, he gives in the purport to this Ajopi Sannavya Atma, Prabhupada says that although Krishna, he may appear like an ordinary person, but he gives this example that Krishna remembers everything from his previous births, because just before this verse, few verses before that, Krishna, when Arjuna asked that, how is it that, you aparam bhavato janma, param janma vivasvataha, so katham etad vijaniyam tvamado proktavaniti, and then Krishna replies that bahuni me vyatitani, so many births have passed, janmani tavacha Arjuna tanyaham, I know all of them, and natum, you don't know, I know. So Prabhupada is giving this example that he knew all the verses, whereas a common man, we can see our situation, we may not remember that what we were doing, at the same time, let's say, maybe now we know because it's Bhagavatam class, we were attending Bhagavatam class, but we can see other times of the day, we may not remember, or maybe 1 year ago or at some other point of time, we don't know what we were doing, we forget. So, but Krishna knew. So Prabhupada says if someone is asked what they did exactly at the same time, 1 day earlier, it would be difficult for a common man to answer immediately. So, but the Lord, he knows, what's past, present, and future. So then Prabhupada goes on to explain in the purport, just as a person with rose-colored eyes sees the entire world as rose-colored. So this concept here of seeing but not seeing, we see what we see what we want to see. Atmavat manyate jagat. That's also one understanding of this point. So that we this kind of example, seeing and not seeing, is given also in Bhagavad Gita, when it is explained about the soul. Ascharyavat pashyati kashyadenam, Ascharyavat vadati tatheva chanya, Ascharyavat chanam anya shrunoti shrutvapayenam vedanake chaiva kashyat. So some people see, now we see the soul as amazing. See means understand the soul as amazing. Ascharyavat vadati, they tell others about the soul or explain it with amazement, astonishment. Ascharyavat chanam anya shrunoti, they hear from others about the soul as amazing. And many people, even after hearing many times, Shrutvapayanam Vedana Chaiva Kasyit, even after hearing, it's as if they don't hear. It's Shinvanapi na Shinvati, hear, do not hear. So it's easy to understand this concept of, rose-colored glasses, or rose-colored glasses. So colored glasses in the sense here that the eyes are colored. Of course, we know when the eyes have to be anointed with the salve of love, we premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santaya sadeva hidayeshu vilokayanti yam sham sundaram achinte guna swarupam govinda mani purusham tamam bhajami. So their eyes are rose-colored instead of being anointed with the salve of love, as Prabhupada translates it over there. And also this concept of seeing or and not seeing is there in another shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam. We know when Prabhupada is explaining this shloka, Dehapatya kalatradishu atmasainyeshva satsapi tesham pramattunidam pashyanapi na pashyati. So people who are attached, this pramatta, this attachment to the bodily concept of life and to the products of the body. Deha, apatya is wife, body, kalatradishu, and actually kalatra means wife, and adishu means things related to that. So it's when they are so attached to that, they do not see. Prabhupada is giving an example over there that they have experience, a material man, anyone, any man, even us, and whether material, non-material, we know that our father's father or their father has died, and then, our father is, maybe some of us, they may still be there, they may not be there, but we can see from the example of relatives, they have passed away, but still, they just live their life devoid of Atma Tattva. There's no real interest in trying to understand the real cause of our suffering. There's no athato brahma jigyasa. So that's what examples are there related to seeing and not seeing, or hearing and not hearing. And therefore Prabhupada goes on to explain that due to this mundane vision, we lose the opportunity to, or he loses the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. So therefore the idea is that we have to come out of this mundane vision. We have to realize or understand, have the factual understanding of Atma Tattva. And of course, all of us here know, the basic things. We are not this body and everything. But at the same time, it is challenging and difficult to actually realize it as Vijnana and then act according to it at every moment in our life, in our day-to-day life. And for that, to come out of this darkness, there is this famous quote from Chanakya Pandit, Tamsima Jyotirgama. And what has to be done is that we should surrender onto the Guru. And, we say in the beginning of the classes, Chakshurun Militam Vena. So he's the one who can open our eyes. And when he opens the eyes, then we can see things as they are. We can see things factually. And also there's another shloka Yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha guru tasyate kathita karmana prakashante mahatmana. So the prakasha or the enlightenment is achieved by having implicit faith in the words of Guru and in the words and in the Vedic, in the scriptural injunctions basically. And then we can come to the real light. Then we can understand. And another verse is Mukam Karoti Vachalam. By the mercy of Guru, Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripata Maham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarnam. So Mukam is someone who cannot speak. Dumb. One meaning is fool, and dumb also means one who can't speak. So by the mercy of Guru, dumb can speak, in the sense that people who don't know much about transcendental knowledge, they can become knowledgeable about that. And invalid, Pangum means invalid. He can cross over. Langayate means to cross over, to easily also, not just cross over but easily cross over. Girim means mountains. So by the mercy of Guru, we can come to see things as they are, because he makes us practice devotional service. And so under the guidance of Guru, we practice devotional service. And what happens is that Krishna says, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Sakta Manah Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya. So he's talking over there about this yoga which is performed Madashraya, taking shelter of Krishna. Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asamshayam Samagramam Yatha Nyasasi Tashrinu. So he's telling over there to Krishna. So Maya Sakta. Sakta means by attaching, there's attachment, there's love. So that means bhakti. And then what happens is asamshayam samagramam. So this situation that has arisen over here, that the Brahmanas cannot understand the position of Krishna, will not arise if asamshayam samagramam. We can know Krishna in full. Krishna is saying you can know me in full through this yoga system. So under the guidance of Guru, we practice this yoga system, and then we are able to understand Krishna. And understanding Krishna, even the Krishna says Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattvata Punarjanma Neti Mameti. So Arjuna Tattva Deha Punarjanma Neti. So after giving up this body, Punarjanma does not happen. So activities of Krishna. Why understanding Krishna is important? It's because just by understanding him, we transcend the mode of material nature, and also we do not have to again take another birth and come back and go through the same process of miseries. And we can understand Krishna in full, and we can contrast that with what is mentioned over here, rose-colored eyes. So you see, they are Brahmanas practicing properly, and in one sense, they are doing all the yagyas and everything, but their eyes are rose-colored, and you contrast that with a simple devotee who is practicing Krishna consciousness under the guidance, and he knows everything without a doubt. Asamshayam Samagam, Krishna says without a doubt. And then apart from this, we can also take practical guidance from the life of Mahajanas. They are Swambhur, Narada, Shambhu, Kumaro, Kapilo, Manuhu, Pralado Janako Bhishmo, Balir, Vayasikin, Vayam. So Brahma himself, Swambhur is Brahma here. So we have Brahma Samhita, which we recite. And then there is, of course, it's a glorification, and we just have one of the chapters, and then there are so many. So we can take inspiration from that. And then Narad Muni is, of course, there are so many instances about Narad Muni. So in the previous life, Narad Muni, as we know, he was a son of a maid servant, and he was in a forest, and then living with his mother, and his mother was serving the devotees. There's this famous verse, Uchishtale pan anumodito tujhe sakrisma bhunja tadapasta kilvishaha evam pravittasya vishuddha chetasas tad dharma evatma ruchif prajayate. So Narad Muni is explaining that Uchishta lepan anumodito duje sakrisma bhunje tadapasta kilvisha. So he explains, it so happened one time that I was in the forest with my mother, and there were Bhakti Vedantis or devotees, second born, twice born, they came. And I took their remnants with permission from them. Uchishta lepan anumodito. Anumodito is twice born. Dvija, twice born. And he took permission. And what happens? Tadapasata kilbhishaha. All the sin in the heart was destroyed. And then he said, next thing what happened was evam pravrittasya vishuddha chetasas. So by this, the whole consciousness become Shuddha, Vishuddha, Chetasas. And then the most important thing happened. Tad dharma evatma ruchihi prajayate. So I gained ruchihi or attraction for the religious principles that they were following. Tad dharma evatma ruchihi prajayate. Prajayate means it was basically, it appeared. That's one way of putting it. So I got the same pravritti as those Bhakti Vedantis. It's basically, it's just like saying that I rubbed off of their transcendental nature, So I got that attraction towards following that transcendental nature by taking association. So from son of a maid servant to Shambhur Narada Shambhu, so he became a Mahajana, and he's explaining. So these examples are there which guide us how we can purify ourselves, surrender to Krishna. Then Shambhu also, we know Lord Shiva, he's, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, he's the greatest Vaishnava, always meditating. And Kumaras, they glorified Krishna so much. Kapilo, we have this famous verse from Kapil Muni, Satam prasanga mama virya samvido bhavanti het karna rasayanaha katha yad joshanada chapavarga vartmani shraddharatir bhakti anukramishati. So Kapil Dev is instructing his mother over there, and he's saying that so we should cultivate yad joshanada, we should cultivate what we should cultivate. Satam prasanga. Satam means devotee, prasanga means association. Mama virya samvido. So virya means activities and pastimes. Samvido means discussion. So we should cultivate the habit of discussing the pastimes of the Lord in the association of Satam. And what happens? Yad joshanada shvapavarga vartmani. The liberation becomes very quick. The whole process becomes very fast. And also, how it becomes is because bhavanti hritkarna rasayanaha katha. The katha or this discussion of pastimes, it is very pleasing to the ears and to the heart because of being in the association of devotees. And then Shraddha, Rati and Bhakti, Anukramishati, it follows in order. There's faith and there's attraction, and then the Bhakti comes. So Kapil Muni has explained there. Then Kumaro, Kapilo, Manuhu, and Prahlad Maharaj. There are prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, and one of the verses where he's explaining about the glories of Lord is Prayana Deva Munaya Svabhimukti Kaman Mauram Charanti Charane Na Parartha Nishtaha Naitan Vihaya Vimamuksha Eko Nanyam Todasya Sharanam Brahmatonupashye. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying specifically over here that, I don't want to be Prayana Deva Munaya, there are these munis who, go to Maunam Charanti, they take different vratas, one of which is like they don't speak and they go to lonely places away from the cities. And Naitan Vihaya Kripanan Vimamuksha Eko. So I do not want to be like them. And the reason he said that I do not want to be like these saints who go to solitary places or who are just thinking about them is because I have understood that Nanyam Tvadasya Sharanam Brahmatonupashya, that I have understood that there is no better shelter. Na Anya means there is nothing else. Sharanam is shelter. Brahmato nupashya. Brahmato means that for the living entity who is, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagya, from that verse, the living entity who is, floating around in this Ekpath Vibhuti of the Lord. So I have understood that there is no better shelter for the people who are suffering than your lotus feet. So I don't want to go alone, because I want to bring people to your lotus feet. So we can understand there also the glories, and Prahlad is also one of the Mahajanas. Of course, there are other prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. And Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he is explaining Imam Vivasvate Yogam Prokta Vahanamam Avyam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshvaka Abravit. So Krishna explains that Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarshya Vidu. So this knowledge is being given through the Rajarshis. And there are many Rajarshis that are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, we spoke about just now Prahlad Maharaj, who was one of the Rajarshis, and another one, which is very well known, is Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit Maharaj, his whole life is practically glorification of the Lord. When he was in his mother's womb, we all know there was Brahmastra that was released, and then his mother, she chanted Uttaro Vacha Pahi Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyam Todabhayam Pashe Yatra Mrityu Parasparam. So Uttara is saying that, Pahi Pahi Mahayogi, greatest of all yogi, she's calling out to him. And Tatra Tatra Jagatpate, you are the Deva Deva Jagatpate. Deva Deva means that he is worshipable for those who are worshipped, or he is worshipped by those who are worshipped. And Jagatpate, we all know, he is the owner of this Jagat. And Nanyam Twadabhayam Pashe. There is no one whom we know as fearless as you. Yatra Mrityu Parasparam. This material world, this Parasparam, Parasparam is explained over there as this material world where there is duality. Parasparam means duality. So Yatra Mrityu, where there is duality, or where there is death, this dual world which is full of death, I do not know anyone who is more fearless than you. So then Lord Krishna, he protects. So that was the story of birth of Parikshit Maharaj. And of course the life of Parikshit Maharaj also, it is said it is explained in Bhagavatam that to please Parikshit Maharaj, when he would go, his subjects or people at different places, to please him, they would glorify Krishna. That is what would please Parikshit Maharaj. When he would go out and he would walk on the streets, people would act different dramas and different plays based on the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and that is the thing that would please him. And of course his death is, the whole Bhagavatam was spoken, his departure. So and there, like that, there are so many. There is Ambrish Maharaj, his prayers are there, and he explained also how we can fully surrender and understand Krishna. Savai Mane Krishna Padara Vindayor. So he says, I engage my mind in serving the Lord, attach my mind to the Lord. Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanu. I use my throat to explain the glories of Vaikuntha. Karur Hare Mandira Marjana Jisu Shrutim Chakare Chuta Sat Kathodaya. I use my hands in Mandir Marjanam. It is said that he wouldn't allow his subjects or his wife to clean the temple. He said, I would do it myself. He was strict about it. It's my service, I would do it. Mukunda Lingalya Darshane Dishav. I engage my eyes in seeing the linga or the deities of the Lord. Shrutim Chakare Sat Kathodaya. I use my ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Srimad Tulasya Rasanamtar. I tasted the tulasi leaf offered to the feet of the Lord. And Grahanam Chatat Pada Saroja Saurabe. Flowers, I use my nose in hearing in smelling the flowers. So like this, he is explaining, how this, he is a Rajarshi, and he is explaining, they are explaining the path of devotional service for us, how we can practically engage ourselves and become devotees of Krishna and not be under this illusion of rose-colored glasses. And then he goes on to say that Pado Harishetra Padanusarpane Shiro Hrsikesa Padavi. I use my legs to go on pilgrimages, use my head to bow down to the feet of the Lord. And like this, use my skin in touching the skin of the other devotees. It is explained that when we sit and take prasadam, our skin touches the skin of other devotees. So he is explaining all the senses, how he engaged in the senses of the Lord. So like this, there are prayers of Kulasekara also. Krishna Tudiya Padapankaja Panjarantam. So he's saying that Pranapana Samaya Kapha Vata Pitte. Now I'm young. Once I'll be old, the throat is choked. Pranapana Samaya Kapha Vata Pitta, in this body of Kapha Vata Pitta. Kantha Varodhana Vido Smarnam Kutaste. So now I should be fully engaged, Manasa Rajhamsa. I should be fully engaged in the network of your lotus feet. So yeah, that's the example of all the great kings, Rajarshis. There are many others also. And apart from that, here it is read that this whole chapter is about how the Dvijapatnis, they attain Krishna. And in this famous song, Jai Radhe Jai Krishna, there is this stanza where it is said, Jai Dvijapatni Jai Naga Kanyagan Bhakti Te Jahara Pailo Govinda Charan. So over there also it is mentioned that along with Dvijapatnis, there were also the wives of the Kaliya serpent, Nagapatni, Naga Kanyagan, and Bhakti Te Jahara Pailo, due to Bhakti, and they attained, Pailo is attained, Bhakti Te Jahara Pailo Govinda Charan, the feet of the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's also explained apart from that. Thank you. It's 8:43. I was supposed to stop at 8:45. If any comments, corrections, questions are there, we have 2 minutes. Okay. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.